Hey guys, welcome back to Maximum Automation. Today in this video, we're going to cover how to do the installation of Git on Windows, and we'll see how to create your Git local repository. Also, we'll commit the changes to the same repository. So let's start with the installation of Git. To download the Git setup, you need to move to this web page, git-scm.com/downloads. After that, you can download the setup based on your operating system. As I'm going to install it on Windows, so let's click on this link. After that, you can click on the link based on your machine, whether it is a 32 or 64-bit. Then we'll wait for the setup to get downloaded. Once done, then double-click on it to run the installer. So this is the default location where Git will be installed. If you want to change, you can change the location. I'll go with the default one. After that, you can choose the different component which you want to install, like Git Bash, Git GUI, or other component. And then click on Next. Then continue with the default options. So in this screen, you can change the name of your default branch. By default, a master branch will be created when we do the git init command to create repository. If you are using or want to use any other default branch, then you can specify the name over here. So whenever you will initiate a repository, then the default branch will be created with this name. I'm going with the default master branch. In this screen, you can choose whether you want to run Git commands from the other tools as well, like command prompt, or you want to run it from Git Bash only. So I'm going to select this option. And after that, continue with all the default options. And at last, click on Install to start the installation. So as we already discussed in our last session, that Git is basically a software which runs on your local machine. And when we create a Git repository, then all the files and their history stores in the local machine itself. So once the installation is done, then we'll be able to create Git repository on our local machine. Now the installation is done. Click on this checkbox to launch the Git Bash. You might be thinking, what is Git Bash? So Git Bash is basically an application through which we can perform the Git command line operations. It provides a package for Git uses from the command line on Windows machine. Apart from Git Bash, we have Git GUI as well, which you will see in one of our next sessions. So you have an option to perform Git operations either using Git GUI or Git command line through Git Bash. Today, I'm going to perform the Git operation using the Git Bash. So this is the Git Bash application, where we can type the command to perform the different Git operations. Now let's move to this folder. So we don't have anything inside this folder, and I want to create a Git repository inside this folder itself. So to create the repository, I'm going to open Git Bash again to send the commands. To open the Git Bash on the same location, you can right-click inside the folder and select Git Bash here. This will open the command line inside the same folder. Because we need to be at the same directory where we want to create a repository, or if you already have a repository. Basically, this is our working directory where we'll have all our project files or source code. Now we are inside of our working directory. So let's type the command to create a Git repository. Git init is the command to initialize a Git repository on your local machine. Now I'll press enter. And you can see that it initialized the empty Git repository at this location. As we already discussed in our last session, that Git repository is basically a .git folder in our local machine, which contains all the information and file tracking history. If we delete this .git folder, then we'll lose our Git repository. Here you can see that we initialized the repository and it created a .git folder inside our working directory. If you go to this folder, then it contains all its files to maintain the file tracking history. Let's go back to the folder again. Also, you can see over here that we are getting the label as master, which is basically the branch name of the repository. So during the installation, we have choose the option to create the default branch name as master. That's why we are getting the default branch name as master. Now let's see that how can we commit our changes to our local repository. As we don't have any file over here, so let's first create a file. This command will create a file for us. See, the file has been created. After creating my repository, this is the new file which I have added. And if I type the command git status, then you can see that it says this is untracked file, which is placed in working directory. This git status command shows the current status of all the files in working directory or working tree, whether they are modified, staged, or untracked. So if you remember, then we have discussed the Git architecture in my last video, which has 3 layers: working directory, staging, and local repository. So if you relate with the architecture, then currently this file is placed in our working directory, which is an untracked file. Now to move this file to next layer, which is staging, we need to type command git add and then the file name. So this command creates a copy of the file and moves it to the staging layer. Now if I again check the status, then you can see that now we are getting this file name in green, and it says that these are the changes to be committed. So if I do the commit operation, then this file will move from staging to the repository. Let's say that I don't want to commit this file now, as I'm still not done with all my changes. So let me create another file named as my second file. And if I again check the status, then it says that one file is ready to be committed and one is untracked. So what do we mean by untracked files? Untracked files are basically those files which our Git repository don't have any information. So if any file which is never be committed to the Git repository will always be treated as untracked file. Let's add the second file as well to staging. So now we have both these files ready to be committed in our next commit operation. To commit files to the repository, we need to type the command git commit -m. -m means is for providing the comments during the commit operation. So whenever we'll go to the file commit history, then we'll see these commit messages, which basically help us to give an overview what was done in that commit. So I'm providing the comment as added new files. So now our files has been moved to our local repository. It means that right now Git repository has the exact copy of our files available in our working directory. And if we check the current status, then it says the working tree is clean. That means files in working tree and repository are in sync. Now let me update both the files. So I'm going to add hello world into this file. And then I'll add hello git in this file. Now, if I again check the status of the files, then you can see that now it says that the files are modified instead of untracked. That's because now the Git repository has the information of these files, and they have different contents as compared with the committed version. Now let's say that I want to commit only one file, though I have modified the other file as well, but I don't want to commit that file. In that case, I'm adding only a single file to the staging. And when I perform the commit operation, then only one file will move to the repository. So this is the benefit of staging layer, which we discussed in our last video. We can commit only those files which we really want to commit. So far, we have added single file to staging area using git add command. Now let's see how we can add multiple files using a single command. Currently, it will show that the second file is modified. And if I update the first file again, now I'm getting both the files as modified in git status. To add all the files which are modified, we can type the command git add followed by dot. So this will add all the modified files into the staging. You can see that both files has been moved to the staging. Now let's say that you want to delete file from the repository. Then how can we do that? So we use the same git add command to perform the delete operation. Let me delete this file. And now if I do the git status, it shows that this file is deleted. So in the staging area, we already have the copy of the file which will be committed. But to delete that file from the repository, we need to perform the git add command again to remove the file. Now, if we again check the status, then it says that the second file is deleted. And if I perform the git commit, then the first file will be modified and the second one will get deleted from the repository. So this is how you can add, update, or delete files into the Git repository. Also, we have initialized the Git repository on an empty folder. You can also initialize the repository on an existing folder as well using the same command. Let's say that I have this project with me on my local machine, which already contains the source code. And now I want to move this code to the Git repository. So I can start the Git Bash over here. And again, type the command git init. So it created a Git repository using .git folder. And if I do the git status, then all the files and folders will be listed as untracked. Apart from the files, I can add the folders as well to the staging area, which might contain multiple files. By using the same git add command and then provide the folder name. If I provide the dot, then all these files and folders will move to the staging. To move a specific folder, provide the folder name and then press enter. Now, if I check the status again, then you can see it added both the files available under the object repository folder. So these were the basic Git commands to work with your Git repository. Please try it out by yourself and put your comments in the comment box in case you face any issue. Thank you for watching. Please do not forget to subscribe to the channel. Thank you.